A major injury scare at Steelers training camp had Steelers fans reeling on Tuesday. We'll get into what happened, what the details are, but why things look to be okay with the Pittsburgh Steelers here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Remember, today's the day for the live fantasy football show on the Locked On Podcast Network. If you have any questions for your upcoming fantasy football drafts, don't miss the Locked On Fantasy Live show on this Wednesday, August 18th, 9 p.m. Eastern, streaming only on the Locked On NFL YouTube page. Subscribe now so you don't miss it. And you'll see our stable of fantasy experts answering all your questions live, or you can submit them ahead of time at Locked On Network on Twitter. I'm Chris Carter. It's the Wednesday edition of the Locked On Steelers podcast. Let's get into it.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things of the Pittsburgh Steelers. It is Wednesday, August 18th, and we're here on the show, as always, on Wednesdays with our guys, Dean Iampietro of WPXI Channel 11 in Pittsburgh and Josh Axelrod of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, breaking things down. Fellas, it's so great to have you back on the show. We were worried we couldn't make this happen, but we're so glad that we did. How's everyone doing today?
Strike first, strike hard, no mercy.
Oh, God, you're really into Cobra Kai. Okay.
Jesus, Johnny Lawrence.
Yeah. Calm down, Johnny. Yeah, because he's definitely not a Daniel.
Oh, no. Dean's got big Johnny energy.
And he was the good guy.
Here we go. This is a Steelers show. Save that for later for your.
There are no good guys or bad guys. That's what makes Cobra Kai great. Anyways,
stop it, both of you. We're here to talk Steelers. Let's jump into the big topic of the day. Now, yesterday at Steelers training camp, I was there. Chase Claypool went down with a scary injury. It was a leg injury. Looked like it eventually turned out it was an ankle injury, and it was like the second to last play at camp. And it was so bad that he wasn't putting any weight on it. Ben Roethlisberger and Eric Ebron helped him off the field. He went right to the locker room, and everybody there were prayer circles on Twitter. There was everyone just panicking and like, oh my goodness. Fortunately, not too long after that, Mike Garafolo of the NFL Network and Adam Schefter of ESPN both were able to tweet out that they had sources that said it was not a major injury. It's a minor ankle sprain, and not a high ankle sprain, just a minor ankle sprain. So it seems like things should be fine for him. And then Chase Claypool tweeted out shortly after that, all is well on Tuesday evening. So Steelers seems like crisis averted. But I wanted to talk about briefly in this first segment how one injury sent everyone into a frenzy, and it was Chase Claypool. I don't think that this happens if, say, Cameron Sutton gets hurt, or say, we haven't seen Stephon Tuitt yet in training camp, or if Alex Highsmith gets hurt. But Chase Claypool, in arguably the deepest room on the roster, with four receivers that you'd feel comfortable playing at any point in time, when he went down, I'd say if Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster, or James Washington went down, there'd be a oh no, but not nearly as big of an oh no as we saw with Chase Claypool. What say you guys?
I think if Juju did, there would be.
You think there would be the same reaction?
Among the fans? Yes.
Okay. And that's not to say that Juju's value should be lower than Claypool's, but just everyone knows what Claypool brings as a deep threat wide receiver and how that opens up everything else for other people. And that's where I saw the panic coming when people were just reacting to this.
And that's the big realization that everyone has, is that, one injury can turn your entire season. We saw it a few years ago with Ben Roethlisberger, of course.
We've seen it every season. Le'Veon Bell in multiple seasons, Antonio Brown in some seasons, Ryan Shazier in some seasons. It's been a thing.
But there's some players that you think, okay, I can recover. The team can recover from that injury. Chase Claypool, though, I mean, the deep threat that he is, and Ben Roethlisberger being late in his career, he's going to be the deep guy. He's going to want to be the one that opens everything up for Deontay and for Juju and for James Washington and for Ebron and for Freiermuth and for Najee out of the backfield. He's the one that stretches the field. And so people got a taste of what he could do last year, and they know that, if he can even be better this year, he is a superstar in the making, and to lose him would be just, worth a panic for the fans. And so there was that collective moment, but fortunately, it looks like it's minor, and I don't think you'll see him on Saturday.
No.
And in any preseason game. And that's the key to the preseason, man. Just get out healthy. Just get out healthy.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to say, Chris mentions Cam Sutton's name, and my eyes got wide because I was like, if Cam Sutton goes down, we have no more corners. So,
but see, that's the thing. The cornerback depth is so much shorter, but but Claypool represents such a serious threat on offense that it's like, oh no, that's the last thing you want next to Ben and Najee and Minka and TJ.
And it's just that Claypool just opens up everything for everyone, because without him, you have one deep threat in Deontay, who is still sort of a Butterfingers. But if you have Claypool, then you got two deep threats on the outside, one of who has proven that he has way more steady hands. And that just creates a much more dynamic offense. And I mean, again, there's so many more weapons on offense. Like we mentioned all the receivers and the tight ends and Najee. I'm just trying to think of guys on the team who would elicit a reaction like this. I mean, obviously, TJ and Minka went down. I think you get the same reaction.
Right. But those are also guys who are arguably the best at their positions in the NFL.
Maybe Claypool's worth that reaction. Claypool is worth that reaction.
Maybe Hayward. Yeah, nobody on the offensive line at this point. I mean, I know depth is an issue there, but we don't have any stars on the offensive line anymore.
Just going to shoot at the offensive line. They was just minding their own business, and here comes Josh Axelrod just shooting a stray bullet right at the offensive line, saying, "Oh, no one cares about them. No one cares if anyone gets hurt there." Man, that was harsh.
Man, I just don't know if the backups are that much worse than the starters on the offensive line. That's all.
And the offensive line, I just want you to note right now, if you're watching on YouTube, any of the Steelers offensive line, that's at Jay Axelberg that is making those comments about the big men. I'm not saying anything bad about you.
I want you all to succeed really, really badly.
Oh yeah, he does.
Now he's trying to cover it. We see what you're trying to do there.
Yeah.
We're going to keep this discussion going, but we got to take a quick break because we got to talk about our friends at BetOnline.ag, where it's the best online sports book. With football season approaching, you want to get in on all the gambling action on BetOnline.ag, where you can bet on records, stats, awards, and season winners on the NFL season right at BetOnline.ag. Pittsburgh fans, I've been telling you, all right on this show, the over-under for your team's wins is set at 8.5, which means all Mike Tomlin Steelers have to do is avoid their first losing season since 2003. I think that's something that you can win some money easily on. You can also bet on players like we're talking about Chase Claypool. How many receiving yards is he going to get? How many touchdowns is he going to get this year? All things that you can bet on at BetOnline.ag along with Major League Baseball action. But before the next pitch or before the next snap, get on BetOnline on your laptop or mobile device, and you can check out their great sporting news, sign-up bonuses, and contest information. Head to their website right now, and you can receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. But don't forget to use that promo code Locked On. That's LOCKEDON, Locked On, for your promo code for 50% off or a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit on BetOnline.ag, your online sportsbook experts. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm Chris Carter here with Dean Iampietro of Channel 11 and Josh Axelrod of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. We're forming the agency, the C, the I, the A. You can see the initials there if you're watching on YouTube. Remember, you can watch this episode on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It really helps us out. You can also listen on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or Odyssey. That's AUDACY, Odyssey. Remember, if you rate us 5 stars with a positive comment on Apple, you get a shout out at the end of the show. So, keeping rolling here, I want to talk more about the weapons that the Steelers have here, because let's look at this from a standpoint. Chase Claypool, again, the fear that went into fans, like, oh no, not Chase, of all the guys. And you could say that if Ben went down, you get that reaction. Minka,
Najee,
and see, that's the thing. Yes. Najee it'd be maybe the biggest one of the young guys. Like if he goes down, it's like, why did we have a draft? Like, that's the biggest fear, right? Because and there was a sense, I think like a week or two ago, he went down for like a brief moment, and everyone was like, oh, and then he went back in, and everyone was fine, and then he played in the preseason game, so it doesn't matter. But this is the crazy thing about the NFL is that, like, one injury can derail something, especially with a team. There's talent across the board, but guys, isn't this kind of telling to say how talented this team is, and that we could say that with, and I agree with you, Dean, in the sense, if Juju went down, there would be panic. We could say that if Ben went down, Juju, Claypool, Najee, Minka, Hayden, Watt, Hayward, Tuitt, or even Devin Bush again, that's 10 guys that you're talking about. If they go down, it's catastrophic because of how talented they are. And I may be leaving guys off like Deontay Johnson or Joe Schober, who they just traded for, or Alex Highsmith, who we keep saying looks really good in camp. I think that speaks to how many talented players are on this roster.
Absolutely. And that's why the expectations are so high, and probably why the panic is so high if someone gets hurt. I mean, not to pick on the Pirates, but when Brian Hayes gets hurt, there's not because there's no expectations. There's expectations for this Steelers team. People know that the championship window is a tenuous thing, and they know that the Ben Roethlisberger era, this could be the last run. And so everyone just wants everything to be perfect. No major injuries. Give this team, this unit a chance and see what it can do.
I just want to say, both of you have now shot straight bullets. Josh at the offensive line, Dean at the Pirates. Now, here's the thing. Dean shooting at the Pirates, I mean, they're going to be like, what do we got? What can we say? The offensive line, I mean, they're big enough.
They're coming for you, Josh.
If Kevin Dotson knocks on your door right now, what are you doing, Josh?
You're running.
I am apologizing.
Back door.
With everything I have.
Anyways, but Josh, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Just how... I mean, that speaks a lot. There's so many skill position players, because you can even say, I wouldn't say there would be panic with Ebron, but there would be like, oh, snap. There was the thought that they'd have 2 tight ends that they could use as athletic receiving threats. Now it's down to 1 with Freiermuth. There'd be concerns there.
I just want to say that you've now done this twice, mentioned all the Steelers, that there would be a panic mode if they went down, and you have not mentioned one offensive lineman yet.
You are doubling down on this?
I just want to state that for the record.
Zach Banner, come get Josh Axelrod.
I think he's going to kill you.
I want the best for the offensive line. I don't want any of them to go down.
Banner's he's gonna turn you into one of the blocking dummies and just boom, 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 boom.
Well, the is gonna come at you with a bat. So here we are. In terms of what we're actually talking about,
right?
I saw this point earlier, so I'm not going to pretend I came up with it, but I think the Claypool injury scare really underscores the value of James Washington and why it's just good to have a receiver that good as your 4th guy. Mm-hmm. Because we've talked about this a lot, and we just mentioned, again, all these indispensable guys on the team, including offensive linemen. The Steelers just have a lot of top-line talent, but they don't have much depth. So if guys start going down, the ones replacing them, I don't know how much faith we have in them. So but the receiver group is the one group where if one of the big, we'll call them the big 3 of Juju, Deontay, and Claypool go down, James Washington's right there, and he is more than good enough to replace any of them, and there not be a major drop-off. Heck, even Ray McLeod could potentially at least get in there and do a reasonable facsimile of a receiver. So, but I think it really, and with all that said, it really speaks to how good Steelers fans think Claypool is and still has the potential to be, that him going down, even in the preseason, sends this shockwave through Steelers Nation. So,
and put it into perspective for you. At WPXI, we'll send out push alerts for major stories. Okay, so it'll happen throughout hockey season, football season, whatever. Player gets injured, and they'll ask, "Is this one a push alert?" Chase Claypool was a push alert. Okay, because it was going to matter. People were like, "Oh my gosh, he got hurt at the end of practice. What's going on?" So he was one who was definitely worthy of that status of getting it out, getting the information out now to everybody. And so that's how he is viewed across the whole city and by the fan base as well.
Totally. And we had that conversation like a week or two ago about whether Claypool and Deontay could take over that number one receiver slot from Juju.
Mhm.
And I think most of Steelers Nation is rooting for Claypool to be the guy that takes that over this season.
Mhm.
I mean, to see him go down this early, obviously it was minor, but for like that brief moment, everyone was like, "Oh my God, that's our potential number one receiver just on the ground, and who
Right.
knows when he'll be back." And
One thing to put in perspective, and I talked about this with Dale Lawley at DK Pittsburgh Sports, but Chase Claypool is the same height as DK Metcalf, but like 10 to 15 pounds heavier. Like, people talk about how muscular and how fast and how this and that DK Metcalf is, but Chase Claypool's in that range as well. And that's something that shouldn't be ignored. I mean, when you look at the talent that this guy has and what he put up, I mean, the guy had 13 touchdowns last year when you include the playoffs. That's a serious threat that every defense has to consider. And then when you think about the potential of getting better, and now there's a run game that now defenses, if either you send a safety back to go stop Claypool or you make sure that your guys are helping underneath against Najee, you can't defend everything. And again, it's having that available to this offense that I think that a lot of people are excited to see, is saying, the ability to show Najee in the run game and also throw him the ball, have two tight ends that both can scare you athletically, and have four receivers that in each of them you're saying are top talents that could be a threat at any point in time. That's an array of weapons, but if one goes down, it starts to weaken that array, and that's what everyone was scared about. So very interesting stuff there. We will see how when Chase Claypool returns to practice. I'm with Dean. I don't see him returning to practice anytime in training camp. I don't see him returning for any preseason games. They know who Chase Claypool is. They don't need to see him show off anymore in training camp. That much is certain. We got another topic here that I want to get to, because as we're talking about top Steelers players, there's also the top 100 on NFL Network that's been released. They're up to the top 41 players right now, or the 100 to 41. And so the top 40 players are still yet to be revealed. Only two Steelers players made that first part of the list. I want to get to those players and you guys' thoughts on them. But first, we got to talk about our friends at Built Bar, because if you want a healthy treat that tastes like a candy bar, Built Bar is the protein bar for you. It's the official protein bar of the U.S. track and field team, and it comes in so many different flavors. Whether you want a fruity snack like raspberry, strawberry, orange, or you can get something different like a salted caramel Built Bar, or cookies and cream, Rocky Road, or my personal favorite, double chocolate. Built Bar has all the flavors you could want to enjoy. And the best part, they're all healthy. They range from 130 to 180 calories. They pack 17 to 18 grams of protein, but only 4 to 5 grams of sugar and only 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. That's a tasty and healthy snack that'll save you from eating that snack you'll regret later and stay on task with anyone's diet. Order today and you can get your favorite flavor delivered right to your door by going to built.com and use the promo code LOCKED15. That's LOCKED 15, all capital letters, all one word, LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your next order. Again, use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, wrapping things up. I couldn't let this go because the top 100 is in the process of being revealed, and it's the thing where every year the NFL Network goes and talks to the players and then has them rank where they think different players rank in the NFL, and then it supposedly releases a list of where the guys are. So you know what the top 100 is, right? Well, it's out. And there's several things that have got people questioning things, especially me. First of all, Cam Hayward ranked at 57. I actually think that's kind of fair for Cam. Then Minkah Fitzpatrick at 52. And they've already put Justin Simmons as one of the safeties ahead of him. And they haven't listed Tyrann Mathieu or Budda Baker yet. And they haven't listed the guy from the Browns. There's a potential that they could be saying that Minkah is the fourth best safety in football. I'm sorry, a guy that was the first team all-pro safety for the last 2 years in the NFL is the number one safety in the NFL. Dean seems amused. Dean, why are you so amused by this? This is a travesty. We need to be out with our picket signs in the front of NFL headquarters, protesting this right now. And you, sir, seem too apathetic.
Pitchforks, torches.
Yes.
Burn it down.
Burn it down.
Whatever. Because, the Steelers did not encapsulate all 22 positions of the top 22.
No, don't you dare.
I understand I would want to burn it down at that point. Oh my gosh. Now, first of all, the only person who needs to be upset about this is Micah Fitzpatrick.
Which he was. He even said so on Twitter. He's like, I was just trying to have a peaceful night.
Great. Fine. Good on you, Micah. Let it be the chip on your shoulder. Great. The Steelers do better when there's chips on their shoulder. This is a good thing for the Steelers.
It could be.
It really is. Whenever the Steelers get dissed in a national conversation or on a top 100 list, man, they're going to use that as fuel to show whoever made that list how wrong they are. And fans tend to, and Chris, obviously you are very upset about this.
I just don't know how you can objectively make a list of the best players in football and say that he's not if one or two of the top two safeties in the NFL. I'm just saying if I'm making this list, the only way that I make this list is if I'm Baker Mayfield and I'm like, I'm tired of throwing pick sixes to Micah Fitzpatrick. There's no way that he's a top 50 player in the NFL. That's my whole thing.
There's one list that matters.
Here we go. The Super Bowl, right?
That's it, man. The Lombardi.
You're old with these
is it.
Yeah, we
get matters.
We get that. We get this. We get this. Dean, we get it. You're being the boomer right now. We're trying to have fun with the top 100 list in the middle of August.
It's the only list that matters. Josh is having fun. He's making his own list. He's putting Aaron Rodgers number 1, putting a Steeler uniform on him. He's having a good time. I understand.
Look, I don't even have Photoshop on my computer, if that makes you feel better.
he's like, listen, I tried. It didn't work.
Who's the boomer now? You ain't Photoshopping. Who's the boomer now?
Man, no one should be paying for Photoshop.
Anyway, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. And let it put the chip on his shoulder. Great. Make him angry. Cool. Good for us.
Man, I love this apathy from Dean. That makes for great podcasting.
Thanks, Dean.
Apathy really makes for stellar content.
Our listeners.
All right, Dean's disbarred for the rest of the episode.
Disbarred. Walk to the ocean.
Thank you. I just wanted him to say that. Anyway, all I want to say is that I guarantee, and I know it's impossible to judge positions against each other in the NFL. There are not 50 players in football better than Micah Fitzpatrick. I just want to say that out loud. I promise you that is the case. Minka came into a good Steelers defense and made it elite. There is not another safety in the NFL that could have done that. I don't think Tyrann Mathieu could have done that. I don't think Budda Baker could have done that. I don't think Jamal Adams could have done that. Justin Simmons definitely couldn't have done that. I don't get the Justin Simmons thing at all. I don't understand why. I don't understand why the players who vote on the NFL top
teams
100,
don't even throw at him. Like, if you think he's that bad, why didn't you target him all season? That's my whole point. Is that Dean,
also, I like Chris's idea.
I am about to kick you out of here. I am about to kick you out of here. You better get passionate right now, sir.
Oh my God, the injustice. Justice for Minka.
All right, I hate Dean. I just want to say that I like Chris's idea that this is somehow Baker Mayfield's fault.
This is somehow listen, exactly.
He led the campaign against
Baker Mayfield. That's what it is.
Probably is, actually.
They probably took his ranking. That's why he's 71. Okay. If nothing else, Dean, if you're looking at this list, let's say you actually care about this list.
Okay.
Should Baker be on this? Be 71? Because that was the one when I saw
Baker
that. I was
Mayfield? Like, what quarterbacks is he ahead of, and was he behind?
So let's try to look at this whole list. It's tough to find this whole list in one place because they don't really organize this that well.
I will say Minka is misranked. Okay, all kidding aside.
There we go. That's all we were trying to get you to say.
He is. Oh, absolutely. The safeties are putting ahead of him. It is ridiculous, but okay. Let it make him mad. Let him make him prove something. It's great.
Again, apathy. The best thing for an audio and visual medium. You love to see it.
You're really helping us out here, Dean. But the whole point is
say controversial things like me.
Exactly.
Get the entire offensive line mad at you.
Right. You, have Kevin Dotson knocking at your door in the middle of the show. That would be amazing. But no, you
I
gotta.
almost did a podcast that would have had Steven Nelson at my door.
No, you
So.
did. You did. We had to redo that episode. For those who are longtime listeners, when Steven Nelson was getting cut from the Steelers, or when
Man.
Dean lit into Steven Nelson, and it was one of the funniest things. And then a story came out about Steven Nelson, and we had to redo the show.
Yeah,
and I was like, man, it's a good thing we did because he was going to kill you. Like Steven Nelson, because Steven Nelson's that guy. Like I don't think that he doesn't when he hears bad things, when he's like, oh no, what'd you say about my name?
Yeah,
and Dean, we saved you by redoing.
Yeah,
that show.
my life was saved. Yes.
Yeah, so that's the thing. That's the thing, Josh. You may have Kevin Dotson or Zach Banner or Kendrick Green coming,
or all of them.
Or all of them, all like 10 of them, because not just the starters, the backups. They're like,
you're the one that named 10 guys and said these are the most indispensable ones on the team, and you didn't name a single offensive lineman.
Don't try to
this is on you,
now.
sir.
Yeah, don't try to make this about me. You're the one that stepped in the mud there, buddy.
I took the initial straight shot. You made it worse.
You took.
I just pointed out that you shot somebody,
and they're coming for you.
And you continue to spray bullets.
I'm not spraying. I'm the detective from The Wire, looking at the crime scene, saying,
And I'm
all these shots fired by you.
And I'm Jimmy McNulty saying, "What the hell did I do?" in a Baltimore accent.
You're not going to be saying much after those guys get a hold of you.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
also, Dean, this is what good podcasting looks like. Learn from my example.
The Gen Xer is so willing to learn from you.
But in all seriousness, the top 100 every year, it always elicits reactions and things like that. I think people are get the sense like, okay, these are just other people's rankings. But for me, I see this as just a sense. It's like, man, like Madden did this, and now the top 100 did this. Now the ESPN, they like when they talk to the NFL execs, players, coaches, and all that, Minka was number one, undisputed. But in other places, it seems like Minka hears this. And I think the biggest thing out of this is Minka putting this as a chip on his shoulder, on top of the fact that the team has a chip on its shoulder. They're being overlooked. They lost in the playoff to the Browns. They're not happy about it.
Ben gets killed in the national media all the time.
And I do think that they're tired of it. And maybe that's the thing that they can be taken out of this. I want to see who's left. Because when you think Minka, to me, would be the second best player on the Steelers. And when you compare them international. So where does TJ Watt rank? Because Minka dropped from 32 to 52 in the span of a year, despite being, again, a first-team All-Pro safety. If TJ Watt is like outside of the top 20, people are going to riot.
TJ Watt's number is going to anger everybody.
Oh, yeah, it's going to. And we're going to be back here on this very show talking about it. And Dean's going to be like, who cares? I don't care. This is not that important. And yeah, it doesn't change anything on the field. But Dean, I think it's going to be a different conversation starter when that happens.
Absolutely. I mean, people are already honked off because he was robbed of Defensive Player of the Year.
Excuse me? Honked off?
Yeah,
I'm a Gen Xer. Just leave me alone. Let me go with it.
I'm not leaving you alone.
All right, guys, we have to wrap this show up. Thank you so much. But anyways, thanks again, guys, for being on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Dean, let people know they can find you, follow you, and get more of your work.
As you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, you can find me at IamDean16 on Twitter. Yes. And we are now starting to ramp up on Channel 11 for the fall. We're going to have Skylights back with one Chris Carter and Jenna Harner, which is going to be awesome. We're bringing back the Fantasy Football Insider on our streaming channel, WPXI Now. And who's going to be on that?
Guess what? It's this guy.
Yeah.
Chris Carter is going to be back. Black and Gold Zone's coming back. We are pumped. We are getting ready for fall. I'll be producing the stuff you won't see me. This is the only place where you actually see me if you're watching on YouTube.
Absolutely. Josh, let people know you can find you, follow you, and get more of your work.
You can get me on Twitter at Jaxelberg with an H. You can find me on the Locked On Steelers Facebook group on occasion, and you can find my work at postgazette.com. It is Sweet Girl Week on Netflix. I got a review and a nice little feature for you later this week. And
What does that even
tune in
mean?
next week, and I might actually be doing a little actual Steelers reporting for once.
Oh, teaser. There we go. We'll have you talking some Steelers from some actual reporting that you did. That's very cool. All right, Josh,
buddy.
a little shout out for you. Thanks again for watching and listening to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm Chris Carter here with Iampietro and Josh Axelrod. You can follow me, Chris Carter, at Carter Critiques on Twitter and Instagram. You can also listen to this show on Apple, Spotify, and Google Podcasts and Odyssey. You can also watch this show on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It really helps out everything. And when you give us a 5-star review with a positive comment on Apple, you get a shout at the end of the show. Thanks again for listening and watching. Be back in your ears tomorrow with more on Locked On Steelers.